Alright, so I'm using this live, non-live again for just a minute. I want to talk about a couple things. One is that I have been closed-minded a bit because I got stuck in what I was familiar with. Now, it's hard to come out of a box, okay, that you've shut yourself into. So I will admit to being closed-minded a bit, but it's been because of all the problems that trucks have had. Like if you hear that they came out with a new kind of a car, and all of them from one year to another are having problems where the pedal gets stuck or the indent plunger, messes up in the key switch and people died. I mean, these are real things I'm bringing up here. Or they catch on fire while you're at the red light, you barely get out with your life. Some people don't get out. And you're a guinea pig for that car. You don't want to be a guinea pig. You understand what I'm saying, people? Nobody wants to be a guinea pig. I'm not sure if I can shut this truck off and do what I'm trying to do too. So let me see if I can do something real quick. I'm gonna turn this truck off, if I can, so I don't feel like I'm yelling over it. I don't know if I'll be able to do what I'm trying to do. Let's see what I can do. Turn this down. Turn this switch up. Let me see if this works this way, because I want to teach you people something. And of course you're probably going to say, oh, Truckinstuff, what you going to teach me now, right? Oh yeah, it's coming. Just hold on to your hat. Hold on to your pants, your shoes. They might all fall off, because you ain't gonna believe what I did. You will not believe what I've done. So back to what I was saying, is you don't want to be a guinea pig. So you don't want to be the first one to try something. And for years, they have been changing different things about these trucks. Everybody's like, hey, is that a good engine? People have had problems with this engine, that engine, all the sensors that have gone out in different ones that should be a recall. They never recall them. They want you to pay for it. Oh, well, it's under warranty, but you're still broke down and making a payment, right? I'm trying to alleviate a lot of that, especially because just the other night, what did I have? A tensioner pulley went out. Now, here's the thing. Those tensioner pulleys, maybe they should be some kind of a recall, because they will put you on the side of the road, but that's what they're doing. Now, having said that, okay, there are things like that that you can't possibly know about as a trucker. But you should from day one, like a turbo boot. They don't teach you about that. All these parts, like I said, I've got to do a video on parts. I'm sorry I haven't yet, and tools, specialized tools. But the trucks are changing too. And I'm willing to change with the times once it's economically feasible to do so, but not before. So I'm going to educate you on something that you could not possibly know about unless you have had an experience with this. And even if you had, it might have been on a different truck. Now, especially with the DEF fluid, it's new. It didn't exist before, okay? None of the whole system existed before. The exhaust filters, all that. And I'm trying to tell you mileages you need to worry about things and this kind of stuff. Matter of fact, I'm going to put in the mileage. I'm going to type it in on that last video I did where I had a belt break and it was the tensioner pulley, and I put it on the other tensioner pulley video, but I'm going to put up mileage. I want you to know when you're going to be broke down, when you're going to be on the side of the road, when you can expect that check engine light to mess you up. Now, I have talked trash about some different trucks because they have something that I went and bought. Because before, they were garbage. Now, I'm not going to say they're not going to break now, but I will tell you, I bought one, and I'm going to see what happens, okay? And I'm going to show you how to use it in case you wind up as a company driver in one. Because not everybody out there is going to be owner-operators. And a lot of companies are buying trucks with this on it. And I can assure you, once I change this title of this video, it'll make sense. But for right now, you're like, what is he talking about? Well, I'll tell you, okay? And I think I can do this. Let me see if it'll let me. Yeah, it's air actuated. Let's see here. Let's see if it'll do it. Let's see what we got here. No, I believe it's got to be running. Well, that works. Let's see what we can do. It's air actuated. It really should work for me, but it doesn't want to. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. In a second, I'm going to start it up. First, I'm going to tell you about it. What did you go and do, Truckinstuff? What are you talking about? Well, here we go, people, without further ado. Do you see that? Tell me if you know, at this point, what I did. Right? I'll give you a hint, because one of them does work. I'll give you a hint. Anybody? Okay. Well, I'll tell you. Because there's a company that would put me on, and I found a truck sales place that would sell me one, and because I knew that they were getting really good mileage, because there's an eco mode and everything else on it, and, well, you never could possibly grind the gear. You couldn't be any easier on the truck or on fuel than the Econo. Now, it does have a sport mode, and I'll tell you about that, but I bought a truck with an automatic transmission. Now, it is not an automatic per se. It's not like the older automatics where you have a hand shift thing that looks like a car, like an old Maverick or something with 3 speeds. This is 12 forward speeds, 1 in reverse. If you want to call that a 13 speed, that's fine with me. If you want to call it a 12 speed, call it a 12 speed. Okay? I will teach you a little something about it here. Okay. Your foot on the brake is the clutch. There is no shifter. Okay? There's no shifter on the floor, and there's nothing. Okay? It's right here. This is what I'm going to teach you about, and it's hard to get to because it's under the steering wheel, but I will do the best to show it. And I'll try to show that up there at the same time, I'll go up to it, okay? So, if you find yourself in a truck with one of these in it, I'm going to show you how to drive it. Because like I said in that video on that Volvo, if I got in that truck, that friend of mine with the Volvo, if I got in that truck, I would not know how to drive that truck. Everything was up there on the dash, it was all confusing, and you wouldn't know what to do, okay? But that is your clutch right there, and your brake. This is just the adjustment for the steering wheel. There's no other pedal down there to be had. You can wish it was there, but it's not. All right? You have to put your foot on that pedal to make this work. Okay, so I'm gonna start it up and I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. But first let me get this out. Okay, there is a button right here, okay? Now, what this means, this is gonna look like some kind of Greek or Egyptian or hieroglyphics or something, the symbols they put on this thing. That's why I'm trying to do this video. Okay, you will learn something, I can assure you, especially if you haven't done this, but even if you have, you might not know what yours will do anyways. All right, check this out. Now, that's automatic. Okay, now there's a gearbox down here, and it does have gears, but the automatic is just the shift. It works in the same way that the Super 10 top 2s used to work, where once you got to the last gear, the Super 10, the top 2, would go from 9 to 10 on its own. Now they all go on their own. You select, okay, you select if you want to go into drive, you're going to switch it forward to drive, and if you reverse, you switch it down reverse, this little thing right here. But this is automatic or manual. Here's how it works. That arrow in with that little chevron and that little arrow, this is a chevron and a bigger arrow. Okay, so it's not rank. It doesn't mean this outranks that. It means this chevron is supposed to be you arrowed in for a short amount of time. This one means you arrow it in for a longer period of time. In other words, if you push this in real quick, or even just like this, that's automatic. If you push it in and hold it in for a long press, that's manual. But forget about that, because guess what? Even if it's automatic, where I leave mine, you can still shift this truck. That's what you might not know, unless you've bumped it, okay? So, keep this in mind. I thought there was a little dust on there, I can't tell. This camera picks up everything. So check this out. So even, I leave mine in automatic all the time. I run it through mountains. I have tried and really pushed the limits of this thing, hauling loads up mountains and stuff, and figured it out, and I'm going to tell you how it works. Okay, if you have this in automatic, and this is the funny part, it's almost like some country slang, something of counting numbers, right? Let me turn this switch off. It's really funny. This guy told me one time that he used to make his teacher mad, because his teacher, he was an older guy, his teacher used to ask him to count to 100. And he would say, 1, 2, skip a few, 99, 100. That was his joke, and it'd make the teacher mad. Well, let me tell you, that's what this transmission does. It does 1, 2, skip a few, and it's in 12th grade, 12th gear. Okay? 1, 2, skip a few, I'm in 12th gear. It doesn't have the pulling power because it's already jumped up 12th gear, but you're getting some better fuel mileage by the way it's running. But here's what you do for that. Let's say this automatic starts off in 3rd or 4th or 5th, and you're okay with that, right? But by the time it gets up there and you're pulling a hill, you're climbing a hill, and this thing is trying to stay around, 11th, 12th gear, and you want it to be in 10th gear. Well, here's how you remember it. Down is shifting down, up is shifting up. So if I pull up on this one click, just one, because let me tell you something, this is like it's not like a paddle shift on a race car, but it's like a motorcycle. Okay, if you tell it to go up twice, it's going up twice. And this is fly by wire, just like how a jet is, it's going up. So if that just did 3 gears. Okay, if you go, you got to be careful. So that's up in the gear, but what you want to do if it's in 12th gear and you're wanting to be in 10th pulling a hill, here's how you're going to do it. You're going to go exactly in that rhythm, down, down. If you go, it's gonna do this little bit of a hesitation. It'll get there, but you just take your time with it, and you go down, down. You just shift it 2 gears, and it'll shift to one, then it'll shift to the other, or it may jump right into that lower one. Okay, the full lower one. If you do it fast, it'll really drop down. If you go, it's just dropped 5 gears, it's going to go directly to that lower gear. Okay, so this is not sanctioned by any trucking company, Freightliner, or anything like that. So I'm going to just go ahead and tell you, I know how it works, and I'm using it every day. If they have a special idea of something, how this works, they should have done a video on it instead of just selling the truck. So let me just go ahead and tell you, this is how it pretty much works. Even in automatic, you can change. The manual being in, it's going to change on its own, but this is, you got to hold clutch in, which is the brake, okay? And it will hold it on the hill. If you hold it for a few seconds hard, it'll do this hold thing, and so for a few seconds, you go ahead and you put on the gas, but it's going to hold that for you on a hill once you've held it to that point. It's got this thing that's almost like it holds you It just holds you on a hill. I don't know how to describe it. But if you don't trust that, I'd cover that one with this foot when you jump over to it. You know what I'm saying? So, however you want to do it, you will learn to drive with one foot. It's going to be some weird stuff. So, all right, going forward from there, literally, that is drive. What gear you're in is, if you're sitting still, it'll automatically start at a low gear. But it could start you out in second, third, whatever. Hey, if you need a lower gear, you're not going to go up, you're going to go down. So if you're wanting to start out in a lower gear, especially on a hill, go ahead and go down all the way to where it's in first gear. You know, don't hit it real fast, just like that, 1, 2, 3 down, okay? Right? So you're in drive here, okay? You got to push in the brake every time. Okay, you're in neutral. It can roll. Yes, it can roll. Then you're in reverse. Okay, and it's not gonna do anything until you push that valve in, because it's not trying to mess up the clutch either. And it's got an automatic thing. If you pull this valve, it will actually go into a false neutral. Even if you're in reverse, it's not going to keep pushing or whatever. If you pull this valve and you're sitting there, and then you uncover the brake, it's not going to be where it's going to be pushing this truck in reverse. But it will sound an alarm, and up here on the dash it will let you know something. So I'm going to show you something real quick. Let's start her up, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. And like I said, I will say this too. You want to do a perfect video. You want to do the best teaching you can. If I didn't do anything, it wouldn't get done. You know what I'm saying? So, let's see here. So I had to do this video now. I can do one more perfect later. I'm not your cinematic. I'm not Metro Goldwyn and Meyer, okay? I'm just a truck driver, so I'm doing the best I can, and I know people appreciate this. I know nobody's going to beat me up on this, but it's not going to be the greatest video ever. It's not going to have effects. It's going to teach you. Let this thing build the air up. It's because I was messing with the pedal. And I've got tape over the mileage because kind of like how a lady never tells her age. Yeah, a truck don't tell its age either. You know what I'm saying? There's no reason to have to tell y'all my mileage or let you know more info than you need in order to learn this. So, all right, here's what I'm going to do in this situation right here, okay? I'm going to, while covering the brake, okay, I'm going to show you how it shifts. The brake is the clutch, so I'm covering the clutch. I'm not going to hurt the transmission teaching y'all this. I will release the brake, but I'll have my foot on the brake. So I'm going to show y'all what I'm doing, and you'll better understand, okay, and understand that that neutral up there, that is your gear. So I'm going to put my foot on the brake here. Let me see if I can do it without messing with anything else here. I know I can go into drive. Yes, third. Here's what we'll do. I'll just leave the brake locked up. I'm going down. Start at 1. It wants to give you a warning because this brake over here is on, and then air transmission low. So let me build the air up. It's not happy. Let me build the air up. It's got to have air because it works the air actuators. It'll say air transmission air low. Let this build up, and every time that I do it, it's going to drop air out. So let me start out with a full tank of air. Newer trucks usually get up to 140 before they pop off. Older ones are 120. Now you got to keep in mind you're using air for the transmission. So what happens? You can't shift if you don't have air, right? You getting me? It's possibly another breakdown if you got an air situation that could give you trouble. There's only one thing I question about this, and I'm going to get into this in the end, that might be an issue. And well, there's a couple things, and one was broke down on a fuel aisle. I even did a video of that. I'm like, you know, you can't trust that. Here's the thing: don't get a license just to drive one of these. Get a license to drive a stick shift, because you might be in a town, okay, that might only have a rental. You have just limited yourself to, you are stuck with that rental had a stick shift. Now you have no rental, right? All right, it just popped off. Here's what I'm going to do. And I'm sorry if I feel like I'm yelling over these engines all the time when I have to do this. Let's see if I can roll that window up a bit and keep this. All right, so here's where we're at right now. We're in neutral. Okay, and we've got plenty of air pressure. I'm going to have to watch this as it goes down. I'm going to build more up. It releases air every time you shift. Now, check this out. Okay, and it uses it to shift. You are currently in neutral, okay? That means this bar over here is in neutral. Now, when I push the clutch down there, which is the brake, and when I put this forward into drive, this up here is going to say drive, and it's going to select whichever gear it thinks it ought to have you in, except I've done put it into a lower gear. So I'm fixing to switch it forward. I'm going to turn this forward to drive. I'll show you as I cover the clutch. I'll turn it to drive. But, okay, see, it selected 3. It selected 3 on me. Oh, now it's giving me this mess. Went into neutral because this valve, so here's how I'm going to have to do this. I already know what I knew it was going to do this to me. All right, I'm going to push in that valve, okay? And then I'm going to change gears, but it wants to start out at 3, but if you got a heavy load and you're wanting to be at 1, I will show you that before I hit this. Watch this. Put it into drive, because I had put it back into neutral. Put it into drive, if I can show it on the camera. Drive. 3rd, now I'm going to push the paddle down 1 time. 2nd, 1 more time. 1st. Now it's going to complain because the air is not released on the brakes. And it's going to go into false neutral. Okay? That's okay. Maybe I can do it like this real quick and just push in this brake. So here's how I'm going to do it. Release the brake so that it'll quit messing with me about that. Now, let's say you want to go into reverse. Okay? Reverse is, if I can get it on camera, that's the hardest part. Turning this knob backwards. Reverse 1. That's what it's going to be. Okay? Now, I'm going to turn it back up into neutral. It's now in neutral. I'm watching that air pressure go down. You see what I'm saying, people? Okay. Now, it's in neutral. Let me give it a second, build some air up, because every time you do it, it eats air. You see what it did? It's an actuator that changes, and then in order to release that, it has to release the air it took. So while I'm showing this, it's going to eat up some air. Normally, it won't eat up this much air because you're just shifting on the fly, and it's going to happen so fast. You're going to start out with a full tank of air, and you'll be good to go. But I want you to be aware that there is an air situation attached to it, and that also by the way, that's not dust, that's cigar ash. I picked a fight with a belt last night. I threw my cigar up in here. Alright, now check this out. And the gauges are different. I'm going to do a whole nother video on that. Now it just popped off. Alright, now we are in neutral. I'm going to release the brake. I'm going to show you again. I'm going to show you a couple things. Okay, let's say you want to go into drive. It's probably going to start out in 3rd like it did, even though I had 1st selected. Okay, now you want to go down 1 little paddle down. 2nd, show you again how I'm doing this. 1 little paddle down. 1st. Now, if I want to go up and start up in a higher gear, pull it back up. 2nd, back up, just like a race car, paddle shift, only it's more like a motorcycle because it takes every click you do. Now, because it's fly-by-wire, watch me. I'm going to tap it 3 times. Watch what happens. 3 up. Well, I did it twice. It picked up twice. So I'm losing. It's telling me that's a bad gear to start out in. You see? So if you're too high, it's going to beep and say you don't want to start out in 5th. So let's go back down. Okay. Now, that 2 that just came up was for the Jake. I'm going to show something real quick. Okay, now here's the odd part about this. First, let me talk about the mountain, and then I'm going to talk about the odd thing about this. So if you're in drive right here, okay, and it's saying 3rd, and you want to start in 1st, it's the same as if you're on a mountain and it's in 12th, and you're really wanting to start in or climb a mountain in 9th or 10th, not 12th. You're just going to push down for a lower gear, 1 click, let it go, 1 click, let it go. So 1 click, 1 click. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Now, transmission airlow. Let's make it happy for a second. Now, I'm going to leave it in and listen to the alarm. It's in drive. See the alarm? It's letting you know it put it into a false neutral because you were supposed to shift it. And now it's in neutral. Even though it says drive, the truck put it in neutral because it's smarter than you are. So you can't mess up with these things. I just put it back into actual neutral. Actual neutral down here. Now, get some air conditioning for me and build the air up. And I'll teach you one more thing about this. I'll get into the Jake brake of it all. Now, like I said, you may never drive one of these, but now you will know how in case you encounter it. And if you have to take a driving test at a company, and even if you're going to get a truck that's got a stick, and they're like, well, we drive test in the automatics, you don't want to fail your driving test just because you don't know how to use one of these, right? So don't worry about it. I got you. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm teaching you here. All right. So the Jake brake works off of this also. It's about to pop off. We're building up the air. I don't even like running a truck and doing a video because I feel like I'm yelling over it, but let me know that I did good on this, people. All right, so check this out. Give me a click like, just because I'm the only one teaching this. How about that? Now, from there, let's say you have selected drive, you've released your brake, you're taking off, you're going down the road, and then you're in drive and you go on a mountain and you're wanting to come down the other side of a mountain and you're wanting this thing to have Jakes. Now, I'm going to tell you what this does. And then I'll get into cruise control. That's a whole nother problem. So, when you're using this right here, okay, and you start to go up and down, okay, not this way, not paddle shifting up and down this way, but if you're trying to move the lever like a left turn, right turn situation on this bar, this is not a turn signal, this is your Jake brake. So if you're all the way at the top, up top, Jakes are off. So if you accidentally bump it or something while you're messing with it, hey, look, you've just messed with your Jake brake, okay? Now, most times I drive with my Jakes on stage 2. Remember, 2, because that's about as high as you really want to go, okay, on the Jakes, unless you're pulling a mountain, or it's going to really over rev your RPMs and really just about put you on the dash with braking power. These things have an immense amount, especially on this DD15 engine, an immense amount of engine braking power. You cannot imagine it till you try it. You won't want nothing more than 2, and actually most times I use 1. So, all right, now you've got all the way up. You see all the way up, and you hear each little click. 1, 2, 3. You know what I'm saying? These stages. So 1, 2, 3. You know, look, I'm gonna show you what it is though. It's the Jake up here on this, right? See that light comes on? It turns itself on. There is no Jake brake switch down here for Jakes to turn them on and off, okay? It's all up here. So you don't just turn it on, you select it. So you turn it on and select it with one switch. There's no button down here that turns on the Jakes or turns them off, and then you use, you know, whatever stage you want on the switch or something. Everything's all incorporated into this. You start out off with it this way, then you go 1 notch down, 1 notch down, 1 notch down. It's really strong. So here's how it works. 1 click down is the first stage. 1 more click down is the second stage. 1 more click down is that third stage. That third stage is really strong. You won't even need that unless you're hauling across the mountain on cabbage, you know, or out in California or something. I've been across Mont Eagle, so I know what I'm talking about. This thing was good in the second stage of Jakes. You could use the third stage. Depends on how slow, how much pulling back on yourself you want to do. I mean, you're going to have too much Jake braking ability, and you might get ran into the back of by another truck that's like, how did he slow down that fast? How did he stop that fast? It's that strong, okay? Plus, I'm running disc brakes. Man, look, you don't even know. So check this out. I've got braking power that you don't have. So Now that I've shown you how the jakes work, and I'm gonna click them up and turn them off, and you'll see that thing just went off. See, watch, on, off. It's on, it's all encompassing right here in this stick. Now I've turned that off, I'm gonna tell you, okay, hang on 1 second, take a drink of water here. Man, it's getting hot here. All right, so there was something else I needed to get into here on this. Let's see, I went through the gears and the Jake on an automatic. There's one thing I wanted to bring up, and that is this. Let's say that you are driving across railroad tracks, okay, and you're hauling hazmat. This is the one thing I take a little bit of an exception of, and I'm like, well, here's the question. At that point, should you have it in manual, or should you hold the pedal so that it doesn't change gears? Because technically you're not supposed to change gears crossing a railroad track, right? That's in case you miss one. What if the transmission missed one, right? I'll get into that later about what I think about them. Once I've had more situational awareness about, you know, any kind of a issue that would stop this thing from shifting, once I figure it out a little bit more about how the internal valves work on it. But for right now, I would say press this in and have it long press so that it goes to manual. You see what I'm saying? And then let off. And then it's while you're in drive though. So we're going to do this. Okay, we're going to release the brake. We're going to make it happy. It wants to start in third, and I'm going to do a long press. I was trying to get it out of economy. Hang on a second here. Not wanting to do it here. Anyways, I would say put it into manual. Now, put it back into neutral, pull the valve, make sure my air's, I won't build that up the rest of the way. Now, like I was saying, it's a very strong Jake brake. It's 3 stages, but it feels like 5. I don't know how to describe it. And this is like a 12-speed transmission. You can call it a 13-speed because 1 gear is reverse. You know, it's got 12 forward, 1 reverse. And I'm trying to think if I've missed anything. Oh, right. Cruise control. That's right. If you put this thing on cruise control, it's going to get this. It's a false neutral, okay? It's the only way I know how to describe it. Anybody that's ever rode a motorcycle understands that sometimes you can be trying to shift between the lower gear, which is first, and then click up to second, and a half a click up is what they call it for neutral, and you go into a false neutral, okay? Or even in between some gears, you go into a false neutral. All right. This thing has a false neutral is what I call it. It's a real neutral. And your RPMs go down to nothing. It's almost like if you hold the clutch in and do what they call mountain overdrive. Some people call it Georgia overdrive, whatever. Like you're going down the side of a mountain and you push in the clutch to go faster because your truck's turned back or something, right? And it will, the RPMs go down. You're not burning fuel because it's idling. That's what this truck does on purpose. Now, will it do you that way? Will it do that to you coming down the mountain on the other side of a mountain? Not if you have your Jakes on. If you have your jakes on, it will not go into the false neutral. It will use the jakes, even with the cruise set. Okay, the way it works. Actually, cruise control won't work with your jakes on. So what I'm saying is, if you're using your jakes going down a mountain, it's not going to do that to you. It stops cruise control from working. So even if you turn on cruise control, and up here I'll try to hit the button, make it show it. Oh, it's down here under this sticker. That's okay. Let me see if I can peel this off a bit. I was covering up mileage. Look, I've done made a mess of this, but there's a circle under here. Okay. Check it out. There we go. And it would have come right off, but I used my fingernail. Now check this out. You see that circle right there? That's cruise control. It's like a timer. Okay. I'm gonna turn it off and turn it back on. It comes on, right? And then if this is on, if cruise control is on, it won't even work until you turn off your jake brakes. You got to turn your jake brakes. This paddle button has to be all the way up. So if you can't figure out why your cruise control doesn't work, it's because this bar is in one of the jake stages. You have to have it all the way up and out of jakes. But even with cruise control, going down a mountain, it will activate a jake brake and keep it kind of at that speed, right? Once you get up going a certain speed, it's best to use cruise control. But believe it or not, even going up a mountain, cruise control will kick down a couple of gears. So it's almost like you're paddle shifting. If you have this thing in cruise control and you're going up a hill and it's starting to stall out, before it ever stalls out, it will shift down in gears for you. And it's telling me, you know, because the valve's over here, it's complaining. So you can use cruise control pulling a mountain. I don't recommend it because I like a little bit lower gear if it's a steep mountain. But any kind of a hill, it's going to shift for you. It will downshift automatically. But the only way that cruise control on an automatic, the only way that cruise control right here is going to come on, that light will come on, but it won't do cruise control for you until you switch this up. So say you turn on cruise control and then this is in jakes and you say, oh, my jakes are on. You just switch it up to turn it off. Then cruise control takes over right where you told it to. So if I turn on my cruise control and hit set up here, if I hit on and set, cruise control's on, but my jake brake is down one click, it won't work, but it will remember what I told it to do, and whenever I click it up, cruise control takes over automatically. So I think I went over everything on this. You will have to drive it to learn it. And what was I thinking, right? What was I thinking buying an automatic? I tell you what I was thinking. I was thinking I'm going to get better fuel mileage. Now, I've got horrible fuel mileage right now because I've been idling and I had a breakdown and all kinds of stuff where I shut it off after that. But after that, I idled last night. So I'm going to show you how to check your fuel mileage on this thing too, okay? And I'll go into the menu of it in a different video, but for right now I'm going to show you this. It has a parked menu that you have to get into to really see what's going on and to delete it and reset it so you get true fuel mileage. But this plus button and this minus button is your best friend. And then I'll go into the menu back button in a whole nother video because I got to go through all that stuff and I don't have time to right now. So the plus and minus button works this up here. I'm going to push the plus button. Either one of them will get through it. Plus. Okay, trip mileage, it's showing 1.3. It's been showing that. That's not accurate. Okay, now, so, and that was not my miles. That is the parked menu I'm going to get into. Okay, that's the parked menu. So, hold on one second. 311 and 100 degrees northeast. Trip mile per gallon. This is the bar you're going to see when you're driving down the road as it goes up. Okay, and I got to reset that other hours clock and stuff, but this is the mileage you're going to see as it goes up. and down while you're driving. And you can keep it on this screen to see what you're doing while you're driving, okay? And I'm going to get into the back menu for the parked menu of fuel in a different video, and I'll show you how to reset it. So it's like your truck, you just bought it. From day one, you want to clear out everything on the fuel mileage and start over, and it'll show you miles per gallon. But it's still going to be stuck on this 1.3. So what mine is, I've got to figure out how to delete that. I haven't figured out, even though I delete the fuel. So I hope that you learned how to use one of these. Honestly, maybe you won't have to. I hope you don't have to if you do whatever you want to do. I'm doing it for the reason that, well, I got a deal on a truck. It gets better fuel mileage and helps me with my bottom line. It's under warranty. And I got to tell you, people, listen. At first, you might not like it, but in traffic, you will love it. And I drove it through some mountains and through some passes where you'd have to downshift and upshift a lot if you had a stick. And I was not worn out from fatigue of all the shifting. You see what I'm saying? I've got another, that's just a message. So for all of the fatigue of shifting through a mountain, you will not have that if you have this. I'm not going to lie to you. So if you wind up getting one of these, that's how it works. I know this video is helpful because nobody put one up for me to learn, and it's all new stuff, so you couldn't possibly know this. And I'm just going to drop this video like this. I am going to get into the back menu and show how to delete stuff. And other than that, it really does, man. I'm getting like, especially, I mean, when it goes into the false neutral and you're riding on cruise control, and with the brake mitigation system, it will work. It will stop itself either way. But I mean, I use the brakes, but it will have a jake brake if it gets over so much further faster than what your speed is supposed to be. But just rolling, it goes into that false neutral. It's like you push in the clutch and you got low RPMs and you save fuel on that, and you will see a huge difference in how much you spend each week on fuel. Plus, it's less wear and tear on the engine. So, and it goes right back in like you let off the clutch again. But your brake pedal is your clutch. And I think I pretty well went over this. And if you didn't know how to use one, you should have a really good idea how to use one now. That's it. That's all I'm going to put on this video. I wanted to do a better video than this, but truthfully, if I tried to get into cinematics and, you know, the time it takes for all the editing that I wanted to do and other stuff, honestly and truthfully, I don't know when I'd get this out to you. And people, you need this info now. And that's the idea behind my channel anyhow. So if I decide to redo this, I might make another one later. In the meantime, this is what you got, and I know it was helpful. And if you didn't, like I said, if you didn't know anything about it, this is why, and it's all about fuel mileage. So y'all stay safe. I'm gonna get off this thing, and hey, if you get an automatic, it's not a bad thing until it breaks down. We'll see what happens with that. But in the meantime, that's what I'm running. And that's what I decided to do, was to take that chance, because it's not the older shifters. It's not the shift, like the shift on the dash Volvos are supposed to be decent, but it's not the older ones that had the big Hurst looking stick shifter. It's not the first transmissions that they had problems with that were automatics. This is the new thing. And I'm getting on board because it's a lot less wear and tear on me too. I'm not lazy. I'm not above work, but you have more energy at the end of the day to polish your rims and do whatever you got to do, wash your clothes, and you're getting better fuel mileage, and it's your bottom line at the end of the week. I'm doing it. So do what you want to do, people. I'm just being real and showing you what I really did. Yep, I bought an automatic. Crazy, right? My next one's going to be an automatic too. I'm looking to buy it in a few weeks and have a couple people driving this one, and I'm going to buy a third one. The third one, I don't know if it's going to be a stick shift or automatic. I don't honestly know. I haven't found that truck yet. So y'all stay safe. I'm going to get off this thing. I'm out. Peace.